Welcome to the Taproom Exclusive. I'm Dean Zarbaugh. I'm here at Brew Kettle's production facility in Strongsville, Ohio. I am sitting across from Jack Kephart and Justin Kerlin of Brew Kettle. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time to have me out today.
Great to be here.
We are drinking the Shandy Shores. It's a tongue twister. This is a new beer from you guys. Tell the people a little bit about what this beer is and what was the inspiration behind coming up with the recipe for this?
Okay, it's actually a retool, a refit of a brand that we had out last year in conjunction with Cedar Point. The previous version was strictly a blood orange shandy. So we used real blood orange juice, let that ferment out, and then we added natural, blood orange flavoring to punch up the flavor and aroma. This year we had a powwow amongst me, Justin, Bryant, Lou, some of our brewers, and management people, and we decided to give it a new spin. So we talked about it. Justin suggested like kind of a fruit punch vibe to it. Mm-hmm. So we went the same route. We got real fruit juice to add to it during fermentation to give it kind of that nice base of fruit flavor, and then we punched it up with the extract. So that beer has mango in it, pineapple, black cherry, and blood orange, just to give it a little citrus hit. So it still has a blood orange in it, but we just didn't want that to dominate.
Gives it more of a tropical taste to it.
Yeah, very smooth. This would be a great summer beer.
That's exactly
great summer beer.
That's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's aimed at that summertime, when you're out there cutting the lawn or sitting on a beach or wherever you might spend your summer days drinking beer. Yeah. This is the perfect beer to bring along. Really
nice. I'm still new to shandies. It's not a style that I've been particularly that I've sought out, and I've found a few now that I really am getting into, and I think this is a nice one that will attract people who don't normally drink the style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm in that same category. I'm pretty new to the shandy drinking. It was never a style that I sought after either, but when we were having that powwow about where do you go with this brand, I thought about back into my summertime and when I was a kid growing up and what I liked to drink, back then, and for me it was always either Hawaiian Punch or it was the Capri Sun little packets that you push to to the end. And so we kind of put our heads together and figured out how could we make it taste similar but still have a nice beer flavor to it. I mean, the bottom line is it's still a beer, so we want to make sure that we still have a solid base on it, and I think this does that.
Yeah, I think it has that nice balance between both worlds. Yeah. That sometimes the style can push one way or a little too much towards the flavor, and
I totally agree. Sometimes to me that style it's literally just sometimes it's decent beer with a lot of juice, right? And you're not tasting the beer; you're tasting really just the juice. So I think Jack did a good job of kind of blending that balance.
Yeah, we all sat around and we came up with a ratio of all those flavors so that nothing purely dominated, but it wasn't just a muddy fruit flavor either.
Yeah, once you start telling me all those things that were in it, you really start to have each one kind of come out in its own way. It's a really, really nice brew. How did you get involved with Brew Kettle back when you got started? What was your journey to come here?
The complete journey?
Abridged, unabridged, whichever you'd like to give.
I was a geeky home brewer back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and got my start brewing kind of through Fred Karm. Back then he was with Thirsty Dog. At least he gave me a hand brewing at the small little brewery. There used to be a chain of brew pubs in Cleveland, in the Cleveland area, called Wallabies.
Okay.
And they went defunct. But one of them, the one in Medina, had a brew system, and the ownership turned it into a Brown Derby Roadhouse. And that brewery, they had to brew the beer to maintain their liquor license. So it was almost like a pass-through brewery where brewers that were out of a job and waiting for another job to start, would brew there for a while, and I was the first one to get started there, and then after me, a few other people got started brewing there. But Fred Karm helped me brew my first batch on that system, and then that was in like November, December of 2003, and then in 2004, I worked up in the East Lake area and right around Willoughby Brewing, and I was a frequent, went there, talked to the brewers that were there, and Bill Bryson, who was the brewer there, shot me an email one week saying, I put in my notice 2 weeks ago, and they need a brewer. And so I started professionally brewing late, like in my, low mid 30s, but I managed to, first gig out, landed a head brewing job, more luck than anything else, but I made the best of it, and I was at Willoughby until 2007, and on a bus trip to set up the rebirth of the Northeast Ohio Craft Brewers Association, which would be soon to be called the Ohio Craft Brewers Association. It was me, Chris McKim, Luke from Great Lakes, a few other people. We rode the van from Great Lakes down, and that's when Chris McKim, the former owner of Brew Kettle, told me he was looking to hire a brewer and expand the Brew Kettle to a small production brewery at the time. So that's when I started.
What was it that got you interested in brewing, at home to begin with? How'd you get the bug?
My geek beer that I first brewed from extract kit was a Sam Adams Cream Stout clone. So that was I wouldn't say that was my gateway beer, because back in high school when we drank, back when it was okay to drink in high school, or not okay, but accepted.
It was more acceptable.
We'd buy all kinds of geeky beers just to drink in front of people, just to act weird and look different, like Robin Hood Lager, and then I got turned on to like just dark domestic lagers like Lowenbrau Dark and Michelob Dark. So that's what kind of transitioned me into the brewing aspect of it. And about that time, hell, even Great Lakes was pretty small back in at least the early 90s.
Absolutely.
So it was, and I got the bug, and just, like I said, you geek out as a home brewer. You either go one of two routes. You either go all in, or you try it a couple times and, figure either you can't make a decent beer, or it's just, not your thing.
Yeah.
And
what's been your experience from that to how you do, at the scale you do it now? How different are those two worlds? Doing it for the bucket, that 5-gallon bucket, to the levels you do it at now. I mean,
there's two schools of thought on that. There's a lot of brewers that say, "Wow, it's way different," and kind of discourage brewers from going that route, or that it's a lot harder than it seems. I mean, there's differences in efficiency as you're setting up a recipe, where if your efficiency is better, you got to cut back on specialty malts. You don't scale them the same way from 5 gallons to 20 barrels, but the difference between what I do and on this small to medium production brewery or a pub brewery to a home brewer versus what they're doing on a 100 barrel or system, we're probably closer to home brewers.
Yeah. That's a nice level to live at, right?
Yeah, you still get to tinker around and do things, and as we grow, that's going to change, but it happens gradually. And
you guys are in the middle of a nice growth spurt right now. You got a couple new recipes out, and a couple of those we'll get into later. I'm really just enjoying the Shandy. It's nice to have one that's locally sourced. You get your ingredients from here. I like having companies that I can give my money to, where my money's going back into the community rather than going into Wisconsin for Line and Kugel, or going somewhere else for sending my money. It's nice there's not a ton of places making these.
Oh, drink local, man. I mean, that's it's definitely key. I mean, it's nice. People don't realize that Brew Kettle is the second oldest brewery in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it kind of goes unnoticed at times, but they've been around since 1995. It's there's been a lot of breweries that have come and gone since then, and I think it's one of the reasons that attracted me to come work here is they've been doing it for so long, and Jack has a track record of success, and they make some amazing beer. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Shandy's a good example of it.
Really, really nice idea. I like that you guys came together for it. Kind of makes it, everybody kind of feels like they have a little part in it, and it's not just it's a beer I sell. I had a part in this. I like the flavors in this. I helped come up with the flavors. It probably helps you sell it a little bit, Justin.
Oh, it makes it a heck of a lot easier when everybody buys in. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why even the next beer we'll try, and you get down to it. You talk about the major lager. That's a beer that I think everybody here had a part to play in, and I think as we move forward, that's how a lot of these our new liquids are going to come about.
Yeah.
It's by using every asset that we have. I mean, we're a small brewery, so if you got a creative mind and they happen to be in the sales department, you let them have a part to play. Jack's the expert when it comes to putting together all the recipes and everything else, and as long as we marry those up together, the sales should come along with it.
Absolutely.
So.
I think this would be a great thing you can variant too. You can throw different flavors into and kind of throw some like exclusives out at your locations.
For sure. Or if you have a Randall or anything else, you can throw other fruits in there and play with it. That's definitely something that you can do.
If someone's at one of your Brew Kettle locations and they're eating food, what would you say you would want to eat with this?
I mean, to me, anytime you're using fruits, when you the barbecues, they go very, very well with pretty much anything that has any kind of citrus in it. Anything that has a little bit of heat, you're going to be able to crush. The barbecue sauce, our barbecue sauce is amazing. So that would be something that I would totally, because the pineapple, I mean, pretty much how many times you go into any restaurant and they serve something with pineapple and barbecue sauce. So that's really going to tie it in, make a nice tie-in. So I think the barbecue would go very, very well with it. So I like the barbecue spaghetti.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Grilling too.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're out grilling on a nice summer day, you want something, this is the beer for
Super
that.
easy to drink, that's for sure.
It's crushable. Yeah. It's really nice. It's got a great balance to it. Is there anything else you want to get out about the Shandy that I might not have covered?
Well, we're canning for the first time ever next week, so we will have this available in stores in a 12-ounce six-pack format. So it'll be available at all the Heineken stores. Sometime, look for it most likely second week in June, because we'll can first week of June, and then it'll make it out to your local stores right around then. So all new artwork. We dropped the Cedar Point logo off of it. That was a tie that we had last year with them. They are still supporting it, and they're putting the beer all over the place. It's just we felt like we could sell this better statewide if we had no logo tying it back just to Cedar Point. We've hired a new artist that he's a Ohio local guy that does some amazing work. If you've ever been down to Columbus, you've probably seen one of his murals at some point. But he redesigned our Shandy Shores logo. I think it looks awesome. It's a tropical beach vibe. You can see it right behind you, but it's got a great look to it. And like I said, it'll be available in that 12-ounce can here in a six-pack format, $10.99 price point. So should be right in that line price with all the other, pretty much everybody in the same category. So
absolutely, this is a wonderful beer. Thank you guys so much for your time. Look for Brew Kettle's Shandy Shores hitting your shelves soon, and tune in next week for another all-new episode here at the Brew Kettle.